everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to Banter with Builders.
Woo, it's here.
It's episode 1, and we have Grenee coming on the pod to talk about her journey to the top. It's a story you definitely do not want to miss.
Yes, and we're going to talk about our journey to the top in the podcast. Hey. So we're going to go over how we started, where it started with Macy and Grenee, and where they want it to go, basically.
So tune in. It's going to be a good one. Okay, first things first, we want to talk about the podcast and kind of how it all came about. It started almost a year ago. It actually might have been a year next month when Grenee went to the Mac and Blue podcast. And I saw it on her calendar and I'm like, I love podcasts.
Yes.
And I emailed her. I'm like, can I come?
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, sure, of course. And I've always wanted to start a podcast. Like 2 years ago, I'm like, I'm going to start one. I asked everyone if they want to start one with me. Everyone said no.
And now she's living her dream at her actual job.
Here I am
doing a podcast.
Doing it for work. So it's super cool. But went there, saw Grenee tell her story, thought it was an awesome story, which you guys will all hear later. But then we went to the ESOP conference, took a podcast class, and it happened to be a construction company.
Oh, perfect.
And I was like obsessed with everything. They started internal, kind of like what we're doing, and then all of a sudden they had external listeners.
Oh, nice.
Ran out of that class. I'm like, Grenee, listen to this. She was like, let's do it. Then Lily enters the chat.
Here I am, an angel sent from above.
Pretty much. I'm like, I need someone to bounce ideas off of. I need someone behind the scenes doing tech.
Yep.
And I need someone creative to do all of this, our logo art, which you did, which is amazing.
Yeah, so you guys aren't going to see me too often on the podcast. We'll do things here and there with me on, but I'll be behind the scenes, doing the tech like she said, and maybe popping in to say something every once in a while. So.
And we'll have her on a few episodes.
Yeah,
too.
and who knows? Maybe, we'll have our own little Lily and Macy segment. Yeah. So you never know.
Because we like to hear ourselves talk. So.
Yep. We love to hear ourselves talk, and I hope you guys do too. So
every time we've been prepping, we're just like sitting in here with these on, talking about everything. So our thought for this was kind of like, we have so many emails all week, right?
Yep.
We have to read. We're like, let's give our employee owners something to listen to.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I know that I would rather listen than read, but that's just me personally.
Yeah, people have their likes and dislikes, whatever, but we just thought it's going to be short and sweet each episode.
Yep.
Throw it on your stereo on your way to your job site or on the way to the office.
Yep.
Then you get your company updates. You get to hear more about employee owners. We're going to do a lot of fun things to get to know our employee owners more.
Exactly.
Okay, next up, we're going to welcome our guest, Grenee, onto the podcast to talk about her journey to the top.
All right, and then stay tuned till the end because she's going to answer your questions.
Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now the whole team here.
Welcome our first ever guest to Banter with Builders, Grenee. Hey.
Hi.
We are so excited to have you on, and I kind of wanted to have you on first because when we went to Mac and Blue and you told your story, kind of like your journey to the top, I thought it was super cool and like relatable for anyone, even outside this industry. So we're definitely going to start with that, and then we'll get into some fun things, you outside of work, and then your employee owners asked you some questions, so we're going to go through those.
That's the one thing I'm most nervous about. I can talk about my journey, but employee questions.
They're fun. They're fun.
Okay.
There's some, they're fun. Okay, so to start things off, just for fun too, what was your first job ever before college and then after college?
At the age of 15,
Okay.
I became a lifeguard. So, yeah.
We were practicing, and Lily was like pretending to be you, and she was like, "My first job was lifeguard."
Wait, I might have heard that at some point.
Okay, maybe you knew.
Okay, maybe I knew that.
I'm like, that is crazy.
Yes.
Okay,
I was a lifeguard. A lifeguard. And so I got roped into like basically I say it was like glorified babysitting because in the Midwest, everyone would just drop their kids off at the pool and then they'd come back when they were done with work at 5 o'clock at night and pick up their kids.
Okay.
So I was a lifeguard, and then I taught swim lessons, which I absolutely loved, and that was my first ever job. And it took me all the way through college. I was never anything else
Oh, wow.
but
Okay.
a lifeguard from 15 until 23.
did you teach like babies how to swim? Like the little, have you
I
seen like
did.
little like 2 months old go
So
now?
I didn't do the 2-month-olds.
Okay, I'm like, wow.
I did those 6-month-olds.
Oh,
so
so young.
that's usually when the American Red Cross is like, okay, you can start getting them
Okay.
acclimated to water and everything. So I did 6-month-old, and then all the way to a 45-year-old. I taught her how to swim too. Yeah.
How do you even start doing that? Do
That
you
was
just throw 'em
hard.
in there?
It was hard because she had a fear of water to begin with.
Oh.
So then you basically start like with children, getting them acclimated to water
Mm-hmm.
and then slowly taking them into the deep end where they can't like stand.
Okay.
And then teaching them the basics. And she just wanted to be able to like swim with her kids. She didn't want to be like a professional like swimmer.
Yeah, right.
But she just wanted to make sure that she could, be with her kids and be comfortable in water.
That
And
is
so it was cool.
Yeah,
it
I've
was
never
really
heard
cool.
of someone that
I
was
know.
learning. That's
I know.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and then you did college. What did you study in college?
I studied. So, well, let's see. Let's talk about when I was a freshman. I wanted to be a psychologist.
Okay.
I quickly realized that was not for me. I can't do that. So then I went into kind of pre-law, and I was like, oh, I'll be a lawyer
Oh,
because I
okay.
really liked the puzzles. I liked debating. Debating was like one of my favorite classes
Oh, wow.
in high school and in college. So I was like, oh, I can do that. And then I realized that it's a lot of school, like until you're 30. And I was like,
Yes.
nope, that's not for me either. So then I went into business administration and marketing. So that was kind of my full degree.
Okay. I'm surprised you didn't like psychology with you liking crime and everything.
I do.
I wanted
like,
to study that. I wanted to do like criminal justice,
Yeah.
and I wanted to be a lawyer because of the crime
Yes.
stuff. So I'm surprised.
So
yeah.
I think I didn't realize my passion for true crime until later in
Okay.
life. So maybe if I would have like tied the two together,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I would have stayed around, but I just didn't want to go to school for that long.
Yeah. No, don't blame me. Okay. Well, then, so we graduate college. How do you get into this industry? I feel like that's a question. I know that was already on the list. So how did you fall into construction?
By total accident.
Okay.
So I graduated from college in 2003. My parents were like, you are no longer on our meal ticket. You need to find a job. You need to move. Like, I wasn't living in the house, but I wasn't allowed to move back into the house
Okay,
either. So
yeah.
they were like, go find a job. So in 2003, I literally started sending my resumes to all of these different companies, like tons of different companies. And I got one call back.
Still in Nebraska?
Still in Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah, I was still in Nebraska at this time. Knew eventually I wanted to get out of the Midwest, but at that point in time, I was like, okay, stay close to home, where there is somewhat of a safety net in case I
Yeah.
fail at this whole big girl career job thing. So send out my resume, got one call back from Kirk and Michael Consulting Engineers. I didn't know what engineers did, didn't remember applying to Kirk and Michael. It was for a marketing coordinator position, but I needed a job.
Yeah.
So I went and literally went through the interview and got called back right afterwards and got offered the job. And that is what started my career
Crazy.
in the AEC industry.
So how'd you get to the construction side? Was it Arizona? Is that what?
It was.
Okay.
So I was at Kirk and Michael, and then I moved down here and I went to another engineering firm because that's what I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in time, when I was at Dibble Engineering, I was going to school at night for my MBA. And so I started to kind of see what I really liked about business. I always was fascinated with business when I was in college, which is why I majored in it. But when I went through the MBA, you start to get kind of that solid experience. Like I took a statistics class and I hated that. And then I took a strategic planning class and I was like,
Oh, cool.
fell in love with that. And so it was really cool as I would go to, school at night and learn about strategic planning or learning about what I liked or what I didn't like, and then coming to work the next day and actually seeing in action
Oh, yeah.
or seeing how you could make something stronger in a business. That's where everything started to kind of feed me. And I realized at that point in time that I didn't want to necessarily do proposals for the rest of my life. Like, it just wasn't in my passion. I wanted to have kind of a different career path. So I started applying to different jobs and I found Concord. It'll be 18 years ago in February.
Crazy. And
Yeah.
you did find Concord with a marketing
I
job,
did.
though, right?
I did.
So
Yeah.
that's what you started.
Dale
Okay.
Marr, our current CEO at the time, who I actually ended up replacing when he retired, he hired me and basically said, you're here to do marketing. And that was pretty much my path. You're here to do marketing.
Okay.
There was not a lot of other things that I needed to. Basically, it was like, you're going to be doing proposals.
Yeah.
Which I thought was awesome. But there was this incredible opportunity at Concord that I saw that, they didn't have this marketing department, and it was a growing company. And so there was a lot of other things that I could be doing outside of marketing, that stuff that I was really looking for and that I've thrived on.
Okay, so then walk us through that with Concord. Started with marketing, and then how did you get to now?
I don't
CEO?
know. It's
crazy. It's cool that you did it from like bottom to top in the same company. So
And that's the one thing that I absolutely love about Concord is from the moment that I stepped in, the door here 18 years ago, the culture hasn't changed. The core values of this culture have never changed. We've just grown into the culture even more. And so I was hired on as a marketing coordinator, but I was never told that I couldn't try something or I couldn't do something. Like they were always very open to new ideas of that's what you want to do. Then yeah, sure.
I don't think that's changed. And I feel like this is the perfect example
of that. This is a perfect example. Exactly. The podcast, like who knew a year ago if we'd be doing this, and here we are. So that was always, appealing to me. So they would let me, go outside of, just doing proposals and try different things within marketing. So started as marketing coordinator, and then I started getting more exposed to clients, and I got really involved in SMPS. And that is when I started developing my network outside of the industry, which that was huge for my career development and just professional development as well. But I think then I started making those relationships, and I started getting in front of clients, and that's when they put me more of a marketing and BD role.
Were you the only marketing person?
For a long time, yeah, okay. I was the only marketing person.
You were doing every single proposal?
I was doing every single proposal, wow. Yeah. And we didn't put in the amount of proposals, that we do today, because we've grown substantially. But it was a pretty significant amount of proposals, and during those crunch times, I remember this was years and years and years ago. I had 7 proposals due in 1 week.
No way.
7.
And you did them all?
Yes. But there was a lot of tears. There was one mental breakdown.
That's impressive.
There was a lot.
7, and were they all hard copy back then? Like, was it?
So yes, it was all hard copy.
Digital's new.
Correct. And it was for a client where it was one client, but they made you submit 7 different proposals for each project.
Wow.
And they were all due. This is what I thought was funny. They were all due an hour apart. And it's like, well, that doesn't really.
Yeah, you mean the same hour. Then, yeah. Because I'm not going to come back every hour.
I do remember dropping those off at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And I don't think I worked for the next 4 days. And
oh my gosh.
There was some mimosas involved. There was,
Of course. As there should be.
There
with
was
7 proposals
rehabilitation after that day. But regardless, I started getting exposed in business development, started interacting with clients, which was fascinating. And I got that experience. So I got to do the proposals, and then I got to actually go out and do business development. And then it evolved. I think I'm trying to think, I went from marketing coordinator to marketing manager. And then I went into I think it was business development associate. And then it was business development director. And then it was probably, I can't remember solid dates, but it was probably 13, 14, maybe even 14, 15, where they looked at me as kind of a key part of growing this company. And so we were in the depths of the recession in 2011, and we weren't really doing anything. We were just trying to stay alive, right? We were trying to get jobs. We were looking for any project that we could, just so we wouldn't have to lay off people.
Right.
We weren't making money. We just our objective was to keep as many people as possible. And so during that time, because we did have a lot of time in our hands, I went to the leadership team and I said, hey, can we do a strategic plan? We have never done a strategic plan.
Wow.
So you would probably be amazed by the fact that in 2011, we didn't have core values. We didn't have a mission statement. We didn't have a vision. We didn't have a why.
Was that not a thing that companies did? Is that new?
Yeah, it was a thing that companies did. They always did. But
Yeah.
John, Dale, and Eric, they never had kind of that focus on. They had done an amazing job creating a culture. We had just never put it on the wall, or we had never defined what it was.
Right.
We had never sat in a dark room and talked about Concord.
Or this place is great, but we've never. Here's why.
We don't know why it's great. We started having these conversations, and we were all like, So we went through that strategic plan, and it was the most. You look at our strategic plan right now. It's pretty detailed. Then it was like the most elementary strategic plan. It was like defining our core values, defining who Concord is, defining why Concord is who we are. Why in 40 years of business at that point in time, did we stay in business and not dissolve? Why do our clients keep coming back to us constantly? And so we sat in that room and defined what that was. And basically we created something, as we all know in this room, as the ultimate client experience.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so that's where that was created, where we really dissected Concord and we dissected why our clients come to us. We even identified kind of why we choose the clients that we choose and why we choose not to work with certain other clients. Which are important conversations that you need to have, in order to have a firm focus on who you are as a company. So we went through that, and we didn't know when the recession was going to lift, but we kept focus on our culture, realizing that culture was king. That is why people stay at Concord. That is why they come to Concord, and that's why they want to stay at Concord. So that focus was never lost. So when we came out of the recession in it was probably, oh goodness, I don't even know, 13 probably is when we started getting back on our feet fully. Things just took off. Because it's crazy when even subconsciously, when we just said, here's our core values and here's our culture and here's why we're different. As soon as we all had that focus coming out of the floodgates of the recession, it was like it's like opened up these whole new opportunities. Cool. We looked at pursuing projects in a totally different way of going, okay, it's not about it. Yes, it is about our project experience of what we do, but it's also about that other additional stuff that we do. Creating an experience for our clients, going into the classrooms, teaching kids about construction, celebrating, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings. It's all the norm now, but then it really wasn't the norm. And so that's really where that defining moment of just, oh, wow, if you put a little focus to a company, even if you're not even focusing on it every day, it makes a huge impact.
That's super cool.
And so then it was like 2023, 2024. I became a vice president. They sold me stock. And then basically when it came to naming the leadership, it was like, well, you looked at the roles of what you had and I had that strategic plan. I had that visionary mind. And so that's how I got there.
And that's what you learned you enjoyed when you were doing your MBA, the strategic plan.
100%.
So at what point at Concord did you realize like leadership is like where the path you wanted to take? You wanted to get there?
I don't know if there ever was like a defining
just kind of
like
came about
moment. It just kind of came about. I have always just had a huge passion for business. I think it's fascinating how 80 some people show up to work every single day and work towards a common goal, doing a different job, regardless, but we all make it come together at the end of the day. So that whole like ecosystem of business is fascinating to me, and I wanted to be involved in it in some sort of way. And so I think maybe I don't think there was ever a defining moment. I just knew that I wanted to be involved in that at that level where I can just use what I'm passionate about, and I know that every company needs that. So how can I make that here?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
We are so lucky to have you as our leader. It's super exciting. I know coming here, it was like eye-opening, just the difference in leadership that you see at other companies. And like, I remember I was talking to someone else and they're like, wait, like the CEO just came and sat on the floor and played with your dog when I brought Hazel in. And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, it's crazy. Or like you can walk into your office or Jason's office with no fear, no nerves. It's like, it's really awesome. So
I always say that like you have to have self-awareness that when you're in a leadership position, yes, you're a leader and you're looked at differently, but I always try to have my authentic self show up, in the CEO position, just like I would show up at a happy hour with my best friend.
Yeah.
Because, to not sit on the floor and play with a puppy, like that would do me no justice. I want to sit on the floor and play with a puppy because that's what I would do in normal life. And so I think a lot of times as leaders, you put on a mask when you come in and you're a different person. I always want people to see who I am, on that authentic level and what I enjoy and what I'm passionate about.
Yeah. And that makes the culture that much better. It makes people want to work that much harder, I think. So cool.
I love it.
Okay, and then last fun question about work, and then we'll get into some other things.
Okay.
And I know this answer, but I want everyone else to hear it. What would be an alternate career path, or what would you want to do after you retire?
I want to be a flight attendant.
I love that so much. There it is.
I wanted to be a flight attendant when I graduated from college. But unfortunately, the airlines were still recovering from 9/11, and so they weren't hiring.
Oh, so you might have actually done that.
Oh, I wanted to do
Wow.
it. In fact, I told my parents, I'll go to school for you for two years, and then I'm going to quit, and then I'm
Okay.
going to become a flight attendant. I didn't quit. I actually got my degree. But I wanted to be a flight attendant. And every time I fly now, I'm always just like, I'm so jealous. I want to be a flight attendant.
That's awesome.
And not because I
love
want to
that.
serve people drinks, but because the thought of flying somewhere in a day, 2 different places, is just like exciting to me.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah. I will do that after I retire.
Okay.
Maybe.
I hope I'm on a flight and you're my flight attendant. That
I will
would
be a
crazy.
horrible flight attendant. I will be terrible, but
They're kind of getting meaner nowadays. Have you noticed that?
They are.
I used to love, like, they used to be so joyful and fun, and now I'm like, oh, you're yelling at me because I'm trying to shove my
Yes.
suitcase. Let me be.
But you know what sticks out is when you meet one that's nice now, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I like you.
I know. I'm like, thank you
so much. You're like overly
Yes.
nice.
Like, you are rare. Thank you. Yes, it's so true.
So true.
All right. Something that is viral on TikTok is like, come with me, day in the life as of this. But we're going to flip it a little bit.
Thank you.
Instead of day in life as CEO, because we kind of just went through that.
Yeah.
What's a day in the life like on a weekend for you? Give us day in the
Okay.
life.
So I'll start on a Friday night.
Okay.
Nothing is better than a Friday night because I think you and I alluded to it. I'm a true crime junkie.
Yes.
And at 8:00 every night
Oh, man.
on a Friday, Dateline and 2020 are showing. So
Oh, are they new episodes?
yes, this time of
And
year.
you watch them live, like on cable,
like
not like rewatch.
live. No,
Wow.
like
Okay.
live. Like I make
That's a true
sure.
fan right there.
Oh, I
Yeah.
sit down at 8:00. Everyone knows in the household, including the dogs. This is
Don't mess.
This is Grenee's time. She's got a glass of wine, and 2020
Wow.
or Dateline is going to be
Okay.
on TV. So I watch it. So that I very rarely go out on Friday nights. Like it has to be a pretty special occasion to get me to go out on Friday nights because that's my decompression night. Saturday, like I'm really boring.
I don't believe that.
We're so busy during the week that like the thought of having to like run to something else is like, oh, I don't want to like do that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. But I always wake up Saturday morning, always go to the gym. And so
Well, that's not nothing for
No.
someone that works
I know.
so hard out during the week.
I'm infatuated with a new gym that I have. So it's phenomenal. So I don't have to wake up and like be at a certain class time because it's starting.
It's HotWorks, right?
HotWorks, yeah. It
Okay,
starts
my
every
best friend
15
does
minutes.
that and loves it.
It's amazing.
And you're alone, or is it
The flexibility.
is it a group?
For the most part, you can
Okay.
have up to 3 people in the sauna.
Is it on a screen?
Yeah, it's like all
Okay.
virtual. So like my life has been changed, and like the stress of having to get to the like scheduled gym class on time
Yeah.
has been lifted.
Because that was Rumble you were doing. Still want to try it.
It
I
is
never
good.
have.
I
It
love
looks
Rumble.
So fun.
It is
Yeah.
super fun. Punching stuff is never going to go out of style.
Right.
Never.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I wake up, go to the gym, and then I come home and I am such like at work, I am not a regimented person. On Saturday mornings, I'm totally a regimented person. I go work out, we eat breakfast, I come home, and I wash all the bedding
Every Saturday.
every Saturday. Wow.
That is.
And then it's
I wish
towels,
that, okay.
and then it's rugs, and then it's like dog rags. Like this is my
Saturday?
life. Yeah, I
So
know.
Saturday is laundry day.
I mean, for the most part, unless like we
Wow.
decide to go to like a beer festival or something
Okay.
like that. But you know, that is
Oh my gosh.
like the day. And then we'll take the dogs to the park, or we'll take them for a walk or something like that.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we go out.
Where's the place?
That we go out?
Mhm.
It's totally random. There usually isn't like a set place. We
Okay.
go to. I'm trying to think. Like we go to Trevor's a lot. Like just walking down there.
You can walk.
Yeah, you can walk with the dog. So it's like
Mhm.
you get
so fun.
you get dog walk and you get a beer.
And beer.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
it fits everyone's like agenda. So we'll do that, or we'll just hang out.
Have you tried that new 333
No,
place?
but I want to
Brooke
go.
tried it.
Did she try it?
Yeah. She
So-
said it was cool, but the food was eh.
So I'm trying to figure out like this. It's this high end like restaurant, and it's down by like ASU. I'm
Across
like,
from In-N-Out.
yeah, it
so
feels,
odd.
Feels like it should be like in Old Town.
I feel like it should be like North Scottsdale. And I'm like, oh, and it's right by my house where I see scary people all the time. It's so weird.
It's so random.
So I'm like, I'm not sure they'll do well in that area because
I
I
know.
don't think college kids can afford an experience like that on a regular basis.
Yeah, and
but
for the longest time, I was going to Rumble, which was right next door to the restaurant. So I watched like the TI like happening,
Okay.
and I was always wondering like, what is this? Because again, like you said, there's homeless people living basically in their courtyard.
yeah,
And so then it came out as this like really high end restaurant, and I was like, okay,
Vegas inspired
I know.
in downtown Tempe. Like I'm like, okay, we'll see how this works for you
It's
guys.
not even downtown Tempe. It's like the 202,
Yeah,
like
right on the
101.
freeway.
Like, it was so weird.
Very odd choice. All right, now your favorite part. We
questions.
asked employee owners to submit questions. We kind of want them to be quick, but some of them might take a little bit of thought. But some of them are just fun. So let's see where we can start. Okay, we'll start with our true crime people. If you were on death row, what would your last meal be?
Oh, it kind of depends because I don't crave anything, but I would say In-N-Out is my guilty
Wow,
pleasure.
okay.
Yeah, I only eat it like twice a year. So
Your guilty pleasure only twice a year? You
yeah,
get in.
because
Wow.
it's really unhealthy.
It is.
But if I'm
it's really
dying,
good.
I'm gonna go out with a double
Okay.
animal style.
Animal style.
The
Fry?
whole-
Do you like their fries?
I do like their fries.
Okay.
But you got to put a lot of salt on them.
Yeah, they're
or
pretty
get them
bland.
animal style too.
Yeah.
like why not?
Anything tasted good animal style.
Yeah.
Okay, In-N-Out. Oh, how did you get such a great husband? I wonder who asked that question. I saw that. I'm like,
Pass.
Okay. Next question. What is something you hate that everyone else seems to love? Oh, Lily has an answer.
Christmas.
Oh, an answer for you.
Oh, you know what?
That is an easy answer for you.
Thank you, Lily. Because I was actually thinking like people love to go out and, be busy on the weekends. And I'm a homebody on the
like to
weekends.
s-
I was
yeah.
thinking that's probably. But yes, Christmas, I do not like Christmas. And I think
That is a hot take right there.
it is a hot, and people
Yeah.
are going to like literally get really angry at me for
Yeah,
this.
you might get canceled
I'm
off this
I'm
first
gonna
episode.
totally get canceled, which is totally fine. But the reason I don't like Christmas is I love like when we got together with the family and the kids and the grandbabies, like that was magical, right?
Of course, yeah.
What I don't like about Christmas between that Thanksgiving Christmas is it's so busy.
It's so busy.
So
Like,
busy.
No one breathes, I feel
Yes.
like, during those. Yeah.
Exactly.
For sure.
And so that is why when Christmas comes along, I think it's just that anxiety of having like a full calendar from 7:00 in the morning until like 7:00 at night. You're just like,
Yeah.
You're like a zombie by the
But
time.
then once you get in your vacation.
Yeah, but then
or
once
with
you
the
get,
babies.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. Like the babies bring a whole new, like that right there.
Oh, yeah.
has
Amazing.
added like magic to it.
For sure. What band did you have as a poster in your bedroom in high school?
New Kids on the Block.
That is, they put in parentheses, New Kids on the Block or
NSYNC.
Marky Mark and the
Marky
Funky
Mark
Bunch,
and the
which
Funky
I don't know who
Bunch.
that is. They guessed it right.
NKOTB, yes, New Kids on the Block.
Okay.
I had a crush on all of them.
If you were to be shipwrecked on an island, out of anyone from Concord other than your husband, who would be the best person to be stranded with and why?
I am going to have 85 other employees hate me because I have to choose one person.
Yeah.
Turbo.
That was a safe answer.
It was a safe answer.
But really?
A dog.
He's
guess
just gonna
a
pee
dog.
all over you and cry the whole time.
Well,
And he will be no help. Are you
No.
sure? Do you want to change your answer? No, that's
okay.
a safe.
so here's what I'm going to say.
She gave us the PR answer.
I gave you the total PR answer, mostly because I want Turbo there because dogs are
That's
very
fair. A dog,
therapeutic.
yeah.
So if I'm stuck on an island, I want somebody
Yeah,
that's,
you wouldn't go crazy. if you-
yeah.
Okay.
But if I'm trying to get off, you need to pair. Am I trying to get off the island, or am I just
How about you're
living
trying
on an island?
to survive? You have to survive for a month on an island.
Okay,
Who
so
can help?
I'm going to probably take I'm going to take multiple people.
Okay,
I'm
we're
gonna just-
changing the question.
yeah.
You get a roster.
I
Who's
get a
on
roster.
your roster?
Let's see. I'm going to look at my culture index, and
Okay.
I'm going to need a Kevin for
That is
sure.
a good answer.
Illage, because he thinks about things, and then he thinks about things some more, and then he continues to think, and he always comes up with a great answer, and
Okay.
he makes me think so much differently. So he always challenges me, which that is what you need if you're trying to get off the island.
Yes. All right,
But then
Kevin,
you need-
you're in.
Yeah, Kevin, you're in. But then you need somebody who like will bring humor
Definitely.
to kind of the down times. So then I would say I'm gonna need someone with just a light sense of humor. I'm trying to think who that would be. It's a hard question. I don't know who that would be, but
Lily has a.
Jen?
Jen. Yes, Jen.
But she would be freaking out the whole time.
She would be freaking
Yeah,
out.
she
the
might
whole
bring
time.
stress
some
everybody
high
else.
stress.
And then she would bring
and then
anxiety.
Turbo would be stressed.
And then Turbo would be
Yeah.
stressed.
And Sarah would be peeing everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
yep,
I
that's a
don't
hard
know.
one.
You know, I always say like Alicia and Madison down in Tucson.
They are.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they're a good pair too.
They're a
and
good
they're fun.
pair, and
Yes.
they've got great like they always bring lighthearted humor to
Oh,
every
you're
situation.
taking the Tucson office right now. That's 3.
I am. And then I'm going to need somebody who can whip up some good food with
Okay.
bugs and weeds and stuff. So
Who can do that?
I don't know who can do that, but I think Kristen Kyle, I don't know, but I think
Okay.
she has that ingenuity or whatever it is to like make up something.
All right.
So I got to get fed.
There we go.
Yeah.
So that's 5, including Turbo.
Well, Turbo's coming.
That's your roster for if you were shipwrecked.
Turbo fits in the backpack, so he doesn't really count.
I know. And he'll just be running around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Your favorite true crime movie, podcast, book, or story?
Well, I love Dateline. Anything
Mm-hmm.
Dateline or 2020. Dateline, Keith Morrison, you can't go wrong with his voice. It's like anything that he says is going to be amazing.
Do you I think it's 2020 that I was watching, like the newest ones, but it's stuff that's happening now, so there's not an end. And I
No,
can't
yeah.
stand not knowing. Like,
Yeah, I don't like it. But now they're doing updates. They're coming back
Of
and doing
previous-
updates.
of-
Yeah, so they just
oh,
did
okay.
came back and did an update of one, so now it does have an ending.
Okay, that
So
helps.
those are
yeah,
helping.
I did not like watching those. I'm like, I need to know
Yeah.
that they were caught.
But my podcast, so I'm listening to one called Betrayal, and it's like 35 to 40 minutes, and it's all of these different stories. It's not just like murder and stuff like that. It's just people that have been betrayed in totally different ways.
Oh,
like
weird.
whether they were like trolled on social media or I mean, it's wild to hear
What's
these
it called?
stories. Betrayal.
Okay.
So that's
I'm gonna
my
have to try
newest
that one
one.
out. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
All right. All right, I work one for you. What are the key values that guide your leadership approach?
The key values, I would say authenticity for sure.
Boom. Yeah.
That right there is making sure that I always say like my laugh is like I laugh as loud outside of the office as I laugh inside the office.
Yeah.
Like that is what you get. And yes, I'm going to be on the floor and I'm going to play with the puppies. And yes, I'm going to have bad days just like everyone
Yep.
else. And as long as you're authentic and understanding that, yes, I'm having a bad day, but also understanding that you have a job to do, like just, push through, but also don't try to hide the fact that maybe it's just a crap day.
Yeah.
Like when we lost Lily, like our dog.
Crap
like,
day.
It was a
Yeah.
crap day. You know,
Mhm.
you show up and you take the strength of people around you, who understand the situation, and you remind yourself like, yeah, we're all allowed to be sad and we're
Mhm.
all allowed to have great days too.
Totally. Yeah. Would you rather have a personal chef or a personal butler? Sounds like you don't need a butler. Is that cleaning? Is that what butlers do?
I find cleaning very therapeutic.
Yeah. So
a butler, probably no, not a butler,
Yeah.
but like a chef.
a chef.
But Jason cooks.
He does. Okay. So
And
you have one.
he likes to do that. And I don't want to call him a chef because he's so much more than that. But if it weren't for him, I would be eating ham and cheese sandwiches every night.
Okay.
So
So a chef.
a chef.
Well, this kind of ties into what we were talking about earlier a little bit. Being with Concord so long and now the CEO, how does Concord keep their culture with employees as time changes and personnel changes?
So I always love when long-term employees who have been here for years say, I don't want to lose the Concord culture. And no one wants to lose the Concord culture. But it's always evolving. Like our culture is always getting stronger. And so I go back to the secession plan. And I even go back to, what John Dale and Eric shared about the secession plan between Jim and Gary, who founded the company, is that culture was always the center of who Concord was. That's why we were named Concord and we weren't named Jackson Brothers, because they saw Concord and this company going well beyond their years. Yeah. And it has. And so when we were going through our leadership transition with John Dale and Eric, that is the one thing that we always agreed on. We disagreed on some things, but the one thing that we always agreed on is Concord and our culture. And that's who we are. Yeah. And this culture at Concord has never changed. It's never wavered. I've been here for 18 years, and the reason I'm here is because of the culture. Yeah. But what it has done is it has evolved, and we've grown, and we've evolved with that. And I think a huge step in that, taking that culture to the next level, was becoming an ESOP. Because then it's like we all have stake in the game. There's no individual owners. We all are employee owners, which takes on a totally different culture and empowers our team and empowers our employees even more. And so I always say, like, culture, it's going to evolve. It's always going to change, but it's not changing. It's taking on a new kind of culture, and it's empowering like the culture in a totally different way. And so it's so hard to explain, like, culture is that total buzzword. But I look at it like, we're always going to be that very close-knit kind of team. And we bring on new team members and they just get on board with the culture. And again, that's how it just evolves, because we all operate on the same core values. Yeah. You've seen it. Like, if somebody comes into Concord, if it's going to work or it's not going to work.
Totally. It's the craziest thing to like see.
100%. And it's been like that since I've been here. And so it's, you either get a person in here that steps in and it's like, wow, it's like you've been here for 10 years or you don't. And I think a lot of organizations are like that. But at Concord, we just recognize it and we're open to it. Yeah. And we don't try to make it work if it's not working.
And I feel like that culture, even like if Concord were to grow like double or triple, like I feel like somehow it would still stay, and like being a number would never be something that happens here because the culture is so solid.
Yes. My goal and I will bring up the Christmas party. Like, people were angry. Some people were angry that there was a seating chart.
Oh yeah.
That was driven by me. 100% driven by me. Because I want everyone in this company to feel comfortable with everybody else, which means that you've got to meet a lot of different people and a lot of new people. We onboarded 30 people last year. 30. Yeah. And I don't want anyone to ever come into Concord like scared to walk into the Christmas party, because it can be. When you are close-knit, it's intimidating, right? I wanted to open that up and be like, no, we're sitting next to a stranger. I want you to meet someone new at the Christmas party.
I think it totally worked. Like, I've only heard good things about it, to be honest. And I even, like, I was skeptical about it too. And then I got to sit with Dave, who I've always loved, but like talking to him not about work, I'm like, this is so fun. Like, it was so cool getting to know him.
Exactly. So. And that is my goal, as my individual goal, as I always say. And I am sad that I failed at it a couple times last year. I want to know every single person's name. Like, I want to know who they are. I want to know, where they came from at the minimum, and then I can dig into, like, do you have a family? Do you have kids? Right. Do you have dogs? Like, do you have a parakeet? Whatever it is. Like, I want to know that kind of stuff. And that is what I want all of our other employee owners to know too, is like, when you're working with a team, we work in a team every single day, but the way that like a true team comes together is if you understand like just who you are as an individual.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's awesome. Well, that wasn't that bad, was it?
No. It was
good question.
You didn't even ask me why we started the podcast.
Well, that's coming next. That's our closing.
Oh, good.
So closing. First off, thank you for coming on. Yes. This was amazing. We talked about a little bit the birth of this podcast. Yes. But what do you see for this podcast? Your vision for it, and what are you most excited about?
Okay, so first thing, we'll go back to how this whole podcast. Our fitness room turned into a podcast room. None of us were working out. So we're like,
come get it.
Yeah.
Take it home.
It's all yours. It's open square footage. Anyway, So going back a year ago, like it was almost a year ago.
That's what I told. I'm like, I think we're right almost at a year ago.
I think it was the 21st of January of what I looked at last year. So when we went on that podcast, I remember you asked to come along because you said you dreamed of being a podcaster. Yeah. And so I never forgot about that. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, how can we make that happen? And at that point in time, it was like, I have no idea how to make that happen. And then we land in Miami and we go to the ESOP conference and you talk about this, podcast. And I was like, that's brilliant.
And it was a class taught by a construction company that started a podcast. So
exactly.
Like, this is perfect.
And at that point in time, on the back end, you know how we do the best places to work, top workplaces, those surveys. I always look at those surveys incredibly closely. One of the things that we're always lacking, and I think it's a lot of companies' same issues, is communication. How do you best communicate with 86 different employees on multiple different islands, project sites and stuff like that? How do you reach them?
Yeah.
There's an email. There's social media, there's a newsletter, like a podcast. Like that is like the newest thing. I listen to podcasts now. I used to listen to the radio. I just listen to podcasts when I'm traveling from office to office now. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, Macy wants to be a podcaster. We have a place for a podcast. It's letting a person that's passionate about something do something. Like that sounds amazing. So my hope for this is that people look at this just as a very conversational thing. I want it to be a conversation. I don't want it to be like turn into business statistics and all of that kind of stuff. But I want to see it evolve into internally. And then I think even getting our clients' stories and how, we work with these amazing clients and how we help them carry out their vision. But a lot of times I don't think our clients see that they're helping us carry out what we thrive on doing too.
Yeah.
So that's what I hope for this. I hope to have every single employee owner on this podcast in some sort of way. And I want you to ask them every single question, what they do on the weekends.
Okay. I know. Derek was sitting here. I'm like, Derek, but if you come on the podcast, you're going to have to tell me some personal stuff, Oh,
yeah.
We started with his age and he was like,
No.
I'm like, what will you say if I ask? None, yeah.
No.
Okay. You're not our next guest, Derek.
I'm sitting here saying I'm doing laundry on Saturday afternoon, and it makes me happy.
I know. Oh, my gosh. Okay, yay. Well, that's exciting. We're excited. I'm grateful that I get to do this. It's super cool. Yeah. So thanks. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed our first episode of Banter with Builders. In the meantime, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you aren't already, follow us across all of our social media.
And if you have any fun ideas for the podcast or something you want to hear, you can email Macy.
mchavez@concordinc.com, or you can respond back to the mass text you got and give us your ideas. If you want to be a guest, if there's a guest you want to see, anything like that, we love ideas.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Cool.
Boom.
Boom.
Boom, boom.